The early history of the hmong have been difficult to trace. The hmong have lived in China for thousands of years. They gradually moved southward throughout China, cultivating rice from the Yellow to Yangtze River valleys. In the 18th century, tensions arose between the Chinese and the Hmong, and many Hmong moved southward into Laos and Vietnam and Thailand to find more fertile land. There, the Hmong practiced slash and burn agriculture. Hmong people are known to be fiercely independent and rich in their culture, art, religion, family life, and martial history, and are distinguished by costume and also their dress. The Hmong people never had their own state, but lived in various other Asian countries as ethnic minorities, and some of these countries include, but not limited to, China, Laos, and Thailand. However, we're going to be focused on where their discrimination and oppression was the worst, and this was in Laos. Due to their unique location in Laos and lack of ties to local or national governments and their general poverty, the United States found the Hmong living in Laos to be a useful ally in their struggle against communism. The Hmong terribly feared how their lives would change if Laos became communist, so they agreed to help the American military that arrived in Laos. The American troops trained and equipped 40,000 Hmong men who rescued American pilots. The Hmong people were trained by Americans and taught guerrilla warfare and given machinery and weapons to fight against the North Vietnamese who invaded in the north of Laos. This Hmong army came to be known as the Secret Army, as the U.S. could not bring their own army to fight, as they signed the Geneva Accords Act, which declared Laos to be a neutral country. Therefore, they got the Hmong to seem as though they act out in anger as they want independence, and so they are fighting the Vietnamese troops. As the U.S. military couldn't use their own men, they used their own men to train the Hmong people to fight against the Vietnamese invaders for the Americans. However, at the end, the Laotian and North Vietnamese communists won the wars and the Americans left the region, making the Hmong feel abandoned, and they also had to deal with fighting against these armies on their own. To avoid retribution from Laotian communists for helping Americans, thousands of Hmong walked through the Laotian mountains and jungles and Mekong River to refugee camps in Thailand, and they had to endure hard labor and disease in these camps and rely on aid donations from foreign countries. Some Thai officials have tried to forcibly return Hmong refugees to Laos, but international organizations like the United Nations work to ensure that the Hmong human rights are not violated in either country. Hmong diaspora also occurred. Thousands of Hmong were evacuated from these refugee camps and sent to the distant part of the world. There are approximately 15,000 Hmong in France, 2,000 in Australia, 1,500 in French Guiana, and 600 in Canada and Germany, and also 200,000 in the United States. However, those that could not resettle faced many difficulties in Laos, such as the Laos and Vietnamese forced violent campaigns to cleanse the country of the Hmong people on the basis of their ethnicity. Lao and Vietnamese military forces are cooperating in their violent efforts to decimate the Hmong people. In 2012, soldiers came firing heavy weapons in the Hmong inhabited region of the Phu Bia Mountains. The Hmong have been offered minimal and unsuccessful resistance to the powerful militaries of Laos and Vietnam. Due to these violent attacks, the Hmong have seen their food sources cut off and destroyed. The Congress of World Hmong People have expressed the need for humanitarian assistance to the region, particularly medicine, and is concerned about the continued safety and security of women, children, and the elderly. The supranational organization, the UNPO, condemns the actions of the government of Vietnam in supplying the Lao military with both weapons and soldiers and demands an end to the continued efforts on the part of the government of Laos to cleanse northern Laos of its approximately 300,000 Hmong inhabitants. The Hmong of the world are strongly independent, hard-working, resourceful, courageous people who value their past trials. The Hmong sacrificed their lives, homes, and normalcy in an effort to save Southeast Asia from communism. Many Hmong have resettled far from their homeland, but the Hmong will undoubtedly survive and both assimilate into the modern world and maintain their ancient beliefs.